Welcome to the Teach Better Talk podcast, your official podcast for the Teach Better Podcast Network, the hub for all things education, brought to you by teachbetter.com. The Teach Better Talk podcast is committed to answering your burning questions through a variety of lenses and bringing new offers to you and your colleagues to help you thrive throughout the school year. My name is Ray Hewart, and we love your questions here on the pod. If you have any questions that you'd love us to consider as topics for future episodes, please share them with us by emailing info@teachbetter.com. Our topic this week is diving into dressing for success. And obviously we have a lot that we're able to dive into with this, everything from feeling comfortable, feeling confident, and staying confident throughout your day. Before we get too far in, I do want to give a team shout out to the one and only co-founder and co-owner, Jeffrey Raymond Gargis. He's an incredible member of the team, a founder of the Teach Better team, and somebody that seems to always dress for success. I will totally out him and say that he is somebody that seems to have his own Jeff uniform when he is at conferences. He's always in that black button-up or black polo with the dark jeans. I know that that is something he enjoys because it makes him comfortable and confident, doesn't have to think about what to wear. I know we're going to get into this, especially with our guest. We have Carly Spina here with us. Carly, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to be with you today and to be talking about this. This is
Carly, there's so many things that we bring you on Teach Better creation content to discuss. You are working with a nonprofit. You've worked in public education for so many years. You provide professional development. You're an ESL, multi-language learner supporter. You're an author. You've done so many things with the Teach Better team. Today, we're bringing you in to talk clothing and fashion because I think you are practically made of color. Is that true?
That is true. I am in my neon colors year round intentionally. But yes, color is like my full lifestyle.
We have a lot to talk about with our topic related to you because you are always somebody that I log into any social media I can to see what the outfit for the day is, whether it's you speaking at an event, working with the district, or just going on like a date night with your husband. It's just awesome. Before we get too far in though, let's talk about who you are in education. Obviously, I just highlighted a few different things, but introduce yourself to our network.
Yes. So my name is Carly Spina. I am in the Chicagoland area, but I kind of float around a whole lot. But my whole background and experience is in serving multilingual learners through a lot of different lenses and programming styles and formats and things like that, from like your typical traditional English learner program where students are maybe new or newer to their English language journey and they're trying to gain proficiency, or perhaps in a bilingual or dual language program where they are simultaneously learning and applying English language acquisition skills in addition to a heritage language. So looking at all of the different facets that come into play as we serve and support multilingual learners, from designing great instruction to family engagement, community outreach, kind of all of the different facets that serve and support students. So I did that for many, many years. And now I am with the Illinois Resource Center. Like you said, we are a nonprofit. We're based in Illinois, but we serve and support across the country and beyond. And I am the author of the book, Moving Beyond for Multilingual Learners. And I'm currently working on a second book. So I'm very, very excited about that. And it'll be centered on advocacy and equity work for multilingual learners in schools.
Amazing. I feel like that's a big spoiler and something that I am so excited about. Carly, you don't have a date for a release yet, right? You're just in the writing phase, or are we official?
In the writing phase, we're probably looking at the end of May 2025.
Wow. Oh my gosh, I can't wait. Friends, if you have not read Carly's book, I do feel like I see it everywhere. So I feel like it's a book that most educators, especially those in our Teach Better community that are striving to be better, have picked up this book. Carly, obviously you're very active in our community. And what I love about this resource is it really works with the Teach Better mindset, as silly as it is to say that. Obviously you've done so much work, but it's for the educator that doesn't want to feel dumb while learning something, but really wants to serve students well. And you have so many resources, tips and tricks, and everything else. So I'm so appreciative that you're able to put that resource into the world. And it sounds like you might have a new resource coming out.
Yes, yes. I'm super excited about that. And that was like really my big drive in writing Moving Beyond for Multilingual Learners is I don't want anyone to ever come at this feeling like guilt or shame or like ill-equipped. Like I don't have an endorsement, so I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where to start. Maybe I have a newcomer student and I don't like I've never had one before. I don't know kind of even like where to begin. So that was really at the heart of a lot of the work in the book was just like, hey, you know what? We're all in this together. We're all learning. We're all striving to get better and improve our practices. But yes, yes, and it's. I tried to write like a friend, like a teammate down the hall, like just kind of telling it like it is, and sharing a lot of personal kind of narratives and anecdotes along the way.
Ugh, so powerful. Friends, the other thing I do want to highlight before we get too far in and I forget is that, Carly, the nonprofit work that you do supports all educators, anyone listening around the world. And I want to make sure that they know that those resources are accessible. I mean, it's August, we're back in schools, we're thinking about preparing our classroom. This might be a resource that either you turn to now because you already have a need, or you can simply bookmark it and take a look at it later. Do you want to give a quick highlight of what they might find as those resources?
Yes, yes. So if you follow the Illinois Resource Center on any of your social media platforms, we're on LinkedIn, Twitter or X, Facebook, Instagram, all of it, TikTok, you'll find a whole lot of different resources and formats of resources that can support your professional learning. Everything from instructional design, assessment, thought pieces on kind of like just developing our cultural lens as we support students who may be different than we are. You'll find access to different webinars that are free, articles, blogs, videos, and like little tips and tricks and resources along the way. We also have a large email network that we utilize through newsletters and things like that can also link a ton of timely resources as the months progress throughout the school year.
This is a great resource also for leadership teams. If you're putting together newsletters that you want your staff to consider different articles, this could be just like one of those things you throw up on your whatever list that you refer to every so often to add some pizzazz to your newsletter. So I appreciate it, Carly. You do a ton of work in this space, and I know a lot of our community and educators not even affiliated with the Teach Better team really value that they're able to use you as a resource. So I know they greatly appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We love what we do. And like, again, this is like our big fire in our organization. So it's the best.
The other thing that we're highlighting this week comes into our theme, which is diving into dressing for success. And I know that this concept of getting dressed for success in some regard can feel very vain, right? Come on, you just have to go to work. We have so many things we're worried about. Like, why are we focusing an entire week on how to dress for success? The reality is that this week, as we dive into this concept, this is the perfect time to focus on the new first impressions you're making, the new people that you're meeting, how you can feel comfortable as the stress piles on to the work that you're going to be doing and everything else. Do you mind sharing a little bit about why this concept is interesting for you?
Yes. So I'm so glad that you said that, right? Because sometimes people will look at this and be like, oh, it's very superficial, but it's really not. There's a whole lot of different layers to this. I know that when I put on a certain color or a certain dress or a certain fit, it gives me that little boost. But I'm also thinking about like, what is my day going to be looking like? What is appropriate footwear for the day? What seems to be most practical that's going to give me opportunities for success? Who am I going to be in front of today? And how do I want them to feel? So it can be anything from like, oh, I'm really excited to be a keynote at this event. Like I'm going to dress to the nines. I'm going to wear my favorite shoes. It could be that, but it could also be, okay, hey, I'm planning for family conferences for parent teacher conference week. How do I want the families that I serve to feel? If I'm dressed to the nines and they're coming in from work, is my dress going to then cause a disconnect from how I want them to feel? So it's all of these different things. And it goes so well beyond the superficial level. It really is like that representation of how we want to, to show up as our most authentic selves? And also, like, how does that influence or engage those we connect with on a daily basis?
I'm excited to get into the fit a little bit more later in the next segment, but let's talk about color. And we're talking about all genders, anybody in our world that we're able to look at. Obviously, you and I are not necessarily color experts, but you and I have had numerous conversations and experiences about dressing for success. So I'm excited to at least dive in with some opinions, and then we'll get into the fit. What colors do you find make you most comfortable? Because I know that you and I are quite opposite in this in terms of preference, but I don't think we fall too far as what the colors communicate.
Yes, absolutely. So I am kind of known for always having pink either on me or with me in some type of way. So if it's not on my body, it's in the bag that I'm carrying, it's in the accessories I have, it's in my slide deck even.
And the back wall of your office.
Yes, exactly. I have this old vintage like locker set from I don't even know when or where, but it's this bright bubblegum pink. And when I published my book, I had to make sure that it was bright colors and included some pink in it. Absolutely. But pink really brings me a level of joy and comfort. And it's kind of like, I don't even remember where I heard this for, like a power color. Like it gives you just that little boost, that little like spark of energy. Like this is who I am. And so when I wear my pink colors, the brighter the better, I feel like I'm being my most authentic self. And I will say, as I do that, and as I plan for, and as I shop for pink, I also recognize that some people are not feeling the pink, and there are a lot of different opinions about the colors that we wear and what it means, how it influences others' perceptions.
Yeah, it's interesting. I want to stick with pink for a second. We can get into a lot of other colors, specifically because I know that you are so well known for pink. I don't necessarily enjoy pink on my own physique, but I will tell you, Carly, when you wear pink, there's an element of confidence that just oozes out of your skin. And I want to celebrate the fact that regardless of what color we're talking about, identifying something that makes you feel good, I think naturally brightens your demeanor. While I know there's some colors we can talk about that are seen as aggressive or things like that, I will say pink is one of those colors that while it may not be my perfect, color for every day to day, I have never seen a female or male rock in pink without having great confidence and a smile on their face. So there is a happy element tied to this color, regardless of how you're wearing it.
Yes, absolutely. And I'll infuse other bright colors too. I do a lot of like neon yellows or like a really bright blue or a lime green. And I love that. And I truly do feel like it changes my energy and it shapes my energy for the day. Because I can't wear that bright, happy color and not feel that brightness and that happiness.
I will say tomorrow evening, I'm going out to dinner. And I just got a package in the mail, and it is neon yellow, like Carly Spina neon yellow. And I looked at it and I'm like, first off, this has never been on my body before. Second of all, I thought of you instantly. And I'm like, you cannot be upset and not just rock out confidence and like passion when you're walking around in neon yellow. So again, not my first choice in many settings, but again, color is so fun to be able to play with as an element. And I love that every time I see you in these bright neon colors, I'm able to make connections to confidence and happiness and the ability to be successful. So there's a lot of positive here that it makes you feel good, but it also shares with others the right intention that you want them to feel.
Yes, absolutely. And, and I think we often talk about like having our students embrace that and like find those pieces of their most authentic selves. and to show up in different places and spaces as their most authentic self. So if we are doing that also, like we are serving as models, like, yes, this is who I am and this is how I, represent what I'm feeling or what I aspire to feel today. So it's a good model for students to be reflective about their preferences and their likes and what makes them feel good too.
Obviously, there's a lot of colors, and I don't think any of them are bad, but there are some perceptions of colors that are good to be aware of, especially as we're meeting new people. Carly, correct me if I'm wrong, but I often see blue as a calming color. There's an element of warmth in it. I think green is often affiliated with wealth in settings or money in settings. However, I also, depending on how you wear that, see that as a similar to blue, that it can be quite calming. Can we just shout out red? I feel like red gets a bad rep for being aggressive, but I've seen red worn right in some situations. It has an element of bold and strength. Do you mind speaking to that a bit?
Absolutely. Like red is such a power color. And sometimes people will, like, again, interpret that as like, oh, it's too much power, it's too much aggression, it's so in your face. But like, I don't think there's like a right or wrong moment, right, to kind of step into some confidence and to say like, yeah, like I'm putting on my power color, I'm putting on this powerful bold color because I need that today. I need to feel this element of boldness and fierceness. But other people might go ahead and perceive it, in other ways, and that's on them. And that is on them, truly, for how they choose to interpret other people's choices.
I wonder if there's a pairing here for some reflection for our community. Again, before we get into kind of dressing for success, really just focusing on color. If you're worried about the color, maybe you have your favorite red shirt and it's going to make you feel great. I think the first step is, how do I feel in it? And that's the first step to making the decision to say, this is right for me and that's who I'm going to serve in this moment. The other way is to play with the color, add pattern, and soften it up in that way. I know some questions here will come up with pairing personalities with certain colors. And I wonder if there's a question here, a discussion here about if you maybe have received feedback that you're not quite as warm as some people would like in their first initial meeting, or making a first impression is difficult for you. I wonder if you can lean on color to help you make that more comfortable for you and comfortable for others. What are your thoughts on that topic?
Yeah, absolutely. I do feel like color has a big influence on, again, our attitudes, how we conduct ourselves personally, professionally. If I'm wearing my bright colors and I'm trying to exude some energy, I also recognize that can be a lot for other people sometimes to kind of take in, especially if they're leaning more introverted that day or in that social context. So while I say like, this is how I'm feeling, I also have to be mindful of like, okay, well, this might not be what they're ready to absorb today. So I'm going to go ahead and lean on all of my other cueing systems, right? My nonverbals, all of those things to see what's being communicated back at me, and then make those adjustments. So again, it could be from like the accessories standpoint to like tone down and cool down other moments like of the overall fit or the other overall package. But right, we can absolutely lean on those other pieces to say, okay, now I'm getting this kind of informal feedback from those I'm interacting with, and this is now how I can kind of build forward.
Carly, I really want your insight on this. It's a little vulnerable to talk about, but I really would value your thoughts. I found for my entire professional career, almost until last year, that I could not handle wearing color, and I lived in neutrals. I lived in blacks and beiges and navy blue and any color on my nails, on my body. It honestly gave me stress. I had an element of uncomfortability.
Yeah.
And for a long time, I embraced that as, well, that's just who I am. That's what I like, and that's okay. And later in life, through work that we do as adults to develop as human beings, I realized I realized it was because I had a lot of anxiety, and picking out my clothes was extremely stressful. So in turn, when you only have a closet of things that match because they're all black and white, it makes getting dressed easier. And, after working on that anxiety, look at me now. Tomorrow I'm going to go out in a neon shirt and be like sharing an Instagram picture with you. So
Yes.
do you mind speaking to that mental health a little bit as well?
Yes. And I think it's a few different things, right? It's like form and function, right? Like how does it make us feel? And if we're trying to, step outside of our comfort zones just a little bit, and like again, like trying new trends or trying new styles or new colors or whatever it might be, like we can go ahead and get playful with it, right? With how we like again, if we just want to incorporate color in a smaller way, like you mentioned, like a nail color or like a pair of earrings or something like that, like it could be as small as that. But then again, like let's take stock of, is this serving my need for self-expression? Is this making me feel good? Is this helping me show up in the way that I want to show up? Is it giving me that sense of confidence or fierceness or whatever it might be that I need that week? Or like, does this really not match my my vision for myself? Like, if I really need to, if I'm in a season of busyness and overwhelm, I might need to just stick to what is like tried and true. Like I don't have to think too much about it. Like I am going to stick to these, like truly like these 3 pairs of pants and these 3 t-shirts or these 3 blouses, whatever it might be, or these 3 ties. That's great because again, during those seasons of busyness, that might not be something that we want to spend a lot of energy and time on, and that's okay. And then there might be other seasons where we can get a little bit more playful, because it should be something that brings us a good feeling. And if it's causing too much anxiety, then we can absolutely scale back and say, let's focus on this another time.
Yeah. No, I love that reflection and the ability to really reflect on what you want to be sharing with others and how you might have those first impressions be perceived based on what you're wearing, both positive and negative. We're going to keep this conversation going as we get into fit and function for dressing for success. We'll be right back.
Quick pause to talk about social media. Are you on social media and following the Teach Better team? Head over to your favorite platform, whether it be YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or anything in between, and make sure you're following at Teach Better Team. You'll be getting full updates on all exciting news, including deals of the week, fun blogs, new podcast episodes, and easy, quick downloads that are awesome to send to your teachers at the start to every new week.
How do you dress for success in an environment that you have a lot going on? Whether you are a busy teacher moving from classroom to classroom, climbing on the floor, sitting at your desk to email, or anything in between, we have a lot going on in our day, and every single element should serve us in our success outfit. So we're going to dive into a little bit more of making sure that your outfit is serving what you are hoping to accomplish throughout the day. Carly, your job day to day is in and out of school buildings, helping teachers and students in a variety of ways. How do you decide what you're going to either put on your body to dress for success or put in a bag and bring with you to make sure that your day is not in any way get a negative taste based on what you have accessible to?
Yes, yes, yes. So I will be honest with you. I am totally one of those people that is, I have anxiety about parking situations. So if somebody tells me like, hey, Carly, let's go out and do brunch, my first question will be, okay, number one, what's the name of the place? Because I want to search the menu in advance. And number two, what is the parking situation? Because if I have to park blocks and blocks away, that influences my shoe choice, which then influences the rest of my outfit. So depending on, because I do bop around a whole lot, I'm in a lot of different places. I do look at footwear of like, okay, what's going to sustain me for the entire day? Because I need to be comfortable to be able to do my job. When I speak, I tend to jump a lot and like dance and like do weird motions. It's very strange. I just get really into it, I guess. But I do need to have an outfit and shoe choice that will allow me to do all of that freely and comfortably.
Well, and sticking with shoes, let's start there because regardless of what your day looks like, thinking about what you're going to be jumping over or dancing around is an important element. whether you yourself are speaking at a conference or a district, that actually does change things. Conferences is a lot more walking. Usually in big conferences, there's like wires everywhere, wherever you're presenting, no matter what stage you're on. I have more than once worn glamorous heels to try and look as professional as possible and got a heel caught in like a section of a stage or a wire and not been thrilled with the end result.
Yes. And we've all been there and done that. And I will say, like, I will often make a little disclaimer before I start sessions at conferences, especially if I'm in different footwear. Like, I am prone to falling very easily. Like, I trip walking upstairs. So that one, that resonates with me.
So
Absolutely.
do you ever, because sometimes, at least we're talking for the females that wear heels, and for a classroom setting, I know this is becoming much more uncommon, but we are seeing it still in leadership roles, that is very regular for females to wear heels. Is it bad sometimes to have 2 or 3 pairs of shoes with you? Is that okay?
No, that is okay. I usually keep a pair of flip-flops in my car and a pair of gym shoes in my car. And I'll also always keep blister packs and band-aids in my speaker bag wherever I go, because things will just pop up here and there that you don't like. Even if I've worn this pair of shoes 18 times and then all of a sudden today it's just rubbing my heel the wrong way. So I need to be able to have something that's kind of go-to. And I'll also say, like, I am that girl that will be like in a dress with my favorite heels, my favorite shoes, my favorite wedges. And then I'll go ahead and wear that same dress with gym shoes later on in the day when I'm in classrooms. So sometimes people will look at it and be like, oh, that doesn't quite align. I'm like, but yeah, it does. Because I still love this dress. I still love this fit. It makes me feel really good. It's still very comfortable for me, but I do need to adjust my shoes because of what I'm doing next.
Well, and obviously shoes are big variety in terms of what men and women can go explore for their comfort, but even just the support in the heel and everything else, the arch of your foot can be really important in choosing the right shoes depending on what you're up to. The other thing, Carly, that I know a lot of people are going to consider is what you're physically wearing top to bottom, whether you're a man or a female. There's so many different choices, and I find that there seems to be more rules and restrictions based on where you work on those types of items. So before we get too far in, I do want to preface, if there's some sort of dress code or expectation, the first step is to always abide by those rules or better understand them if you have questions. But as we kind of drift into working within the parameters that we're allowed, were you somebody that wears dresses frequently, pants frequently, or what's the go-to for you when you're
So dresses are always my preference and people were like, oh, that's so formal. Not really, because the dress styles that I like are very easy peasy, and it's just coordinating one piece of clothing rather than a whole bunch of different things. So it's really like just grab and go from my lens, from my perspective. But when I am in classrooms, if I am doing activities with students, I love a cargo pant, plain tee with a denim jacket. I don't know a single educator that doesn't have a few denim jackets.
Yes. And I really do like the concept of being maybe a little intentional. It sounds silly now, but I know this is helpful so long term, is having those kind of go-to outfits, go-to formula for I'm going to be in a classroom all day. For me, it would be a black flowy pant, like of some sort. Like, I know they look good, but they feel like pajamas. I love a good white tee or some blouse that's breathable, that if I get warm, I can take a layer off.
Yes.
And then some sort of top layer, whether it's a jacket. Right now I'm obsessed with like throwing like a cozy sweater on, really like East Coast grandma vibes. Like, I love the ability to layer, because I will walk in and be freezing, or I will walk in and sweat my tush off.
Yes. And exactly. And a lot of us don't have controls inside of our classroom spaces. We're not allowed to change any of those things and alter any of those things. So my classroom might be on fire and my teammate across the hall from me is on a different system in the building, and that's an icebox in there. So I love, and I will typically bring at least a layer no matter what time of year it is.
if you are a male and you're trying to figure out your equivalent to some of these things that I know are occasionally seen as gender specific, I always love to have a school item, like a windbreaker that you can throw on. If it has a school logo, it's almost always a win. A great uniform for a gentleman in the classroom could be continuously looking at those button-ups. There's so many casual and formal button-ups these days, whether it be cotton or something more formal. And also t-shirts are acceptable in so many schools these days, especially those that are either driven by obviously school logos or just simple. You want it simple and clean for everybody. I think that's another element that doesn't quite go with color, but the concept of just looking a little polished is always good to do. And absolutely in this day and age can happen with a white Fruit of the Loom t-shirt.
Yes. And I think like, I know I follow a lot of like fashion bloggers and like Instagrammers and stuff like that. And they always talk about having like a capsule wardrobe of like, just like your best basics. And like people will say like, just grab, whatever's from, the nearby store. But like find the one that makes you feel good, makes you feel most comfortable, that aligns with like your lifestyle. I'm not going to buy stuff if I have to dry clean it. Most of my stuff goes in the dryer. Like truly, like I don't have time to hang dry. I don't have space to hang dry a whole lot of items. But like investing in those little basics like that again, you're going to use many, many times over and over in a variety of situations, variety of contexts. Like that's a really good thing to just always have and always be on the lookout for, because like I think a lot of us have like that favorite white tank or that favorite gray basic t-shirt that's plain, but it gets worn, right? Like it gets worn out the more and more we use it. So having those good investment pieces, I think it's helpful to have.
And the beauty of the capsule wardrobe concept is very similar to what we've talked about, where you have your go-to neutrals, and when you are in the right headspace to add some fit and flair, you're able to do that regardless of what your day looks like, making those good choices. I know other strategies that we'll be sharing throughout the week. We'll be planning ahead with your outfits and making sure that you are prepared and not too overdressed or too underdressed for any event. But Carly, we are going to have to wrap this up and get into our big takeaways from the day. So we'll be right back. We have had such a great time diving into dressing up for success. And this is just the beginning of these questions that we'll be looking at all week long for all people in tons of different situations. Carly, I'm so glad we were able to have this conversation. I know this will be something that many people will be reflecting on as they are driving to work, listening to the Teach Better Talk podcast. Before we go though, do you mind sharing a major takeaway or two, something that if our community here has maybe been multitasking or maybe taking notes or not taking notes during this episode, what do you want them to walk away with?
I want everybody to just lean into like start noticing like when you are wearing something, how does it feel? Like physically, how does it feel? Like texture wise, fabric wise, all of those things. But like, what does it make you feel? Thinking about, again, fabric, texture, thinking about color, thinking about pattern, thinking about just all of the different layers and how it makes you feel, and lean into it, pay a little bit more attention to it, because when we kind of lean in and start to recognize what makes us feel good, we'll kind of start leaning towards it and choosing those items more. And that really does influence and change how we show up with what layer of confidence and how we interact with those that we serve.
Friends, I want to make sure you go follow Carly and connect with all the work that she is involved in, especially because we always love to see those date night outfits and those presenter outfits. She always encourages me to expand my horizons, and I do need friends that challenge me. Carly, you are definitely somebody that I love having within my circle, and I definitely will be sending you a picture tomorrow when I go to that dinner in my neon yellow, totally inspired by you. Do you mind sharing how our community can stay connected to you and your team?
Yes, absolutely. So you can follow the Illinois Resource Center on all social media platforms. If you do a quick search, it'll pop up. And then you can find me on Twitter and LinkedIn. My Twitter handle is at Mrs. Spina's Class. It's also my TikTok handle as well. You can find me on Instagram at Education Barbie.
So powerful. If you have any questions on how to connect with Carly, please let us know. And if you made it this far in the episode, please don't forget to subscribe and rate and review the pod. We also love having you over on YouTube and following the Teach Better team to make sure you don't miss any episodes of Teach Better Talk. Stick with us all week long as we dive into dressing for success. Carly, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me. Take care, everyone.